Whisper Podcast. Oh, sorry. Whisper Podcasts may contain content that may be sensitive for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
That's better.
I'm one of your hosts, Zach Tyler. My pronouns are they, them.
And I'm your host, Dylan Gomez. My pronouns are also they, them. And this is a podcast where
the fine arts, true crime, and mental health are a throuple.
And we bring you episode
9!
And today we're going to be talking about the topic...
the gay trans panic defense.
Wow.
I wish...
What a downer.
Yeah. You know, I really wish that, I really wish that my topics were more exciting to discuss, but most of them are just going to be
you know what? But they are important. We need to talk about it. It's also really interesting. I can't believe this is real. I literally can't.
Oh my god, me neither. Okay, me neither. But before we jump on in and we really get down to the nitty and gritty, how are you doing today, Dylan?
Oh my gosh, I am doing fantastical. Fantastic. Wonderful, stunning.
Yes.
Unique. I feel so unique today.
Yes.
I had some vegan mac.
Oh my god, yes. We love some vegan mac.
Yes, a vegan mac, a little jackfruit on the side.
Rate it on a scale of 1 to 10.
It was definitely, I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I needed a little salad with it.
A little salad.
It was just a little heavy.
A little heavy, yeah.
A little heavy, but still very good.
No, I get that.
Excellent.
Get that. But that's good. I'm really glad that you had vegan mac, and I'm glad that you're feeling fabulous and unique and dandy today. Hello.
Yes, hello.
The Dandy Dylan. Yeah.
And how are you doing today, Zach? What's going on in the world of Zach right now?
Honestly, I'm doing somewhat okay, somewhat not okay, because I'm just really trying to be a good plant parent, and it just seems that I'm failing at it.
Shit.
I've had to revive so many of my plants, and I'm literally, what am I doing wrong? And it's
I think that everybody and your plants will understand. Parenting is not easy. No. Especially you never know. Sometimes you give them too much love, and it's they need a little space, but it's hard because you love them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's baby, I just need you to communicate that to me. Please.
Yeah, but I think you're a great plant parent, and none of your plants look like they're dead, so...
Thank you!
There's always hope.
That. There's always hopes, just doing the best that I can. Aside from that, it's a beautiful day out here in Los Angeles. It's really starting to get into those fall vibes, so I'm, living for it.
We love spooky season.
We love spooky season. We eat up spooky season. Yeah, so... I'm overall good. But to go ahead and jump on in, we're going to be talking about the gay/trans panic defense. And Dylan, I actually didn't know that this was a thing up until you brought it to my attention. So it was a big discovery and shock to me. So I can only imagine how much of a big discovery and shock it's going to be for all of our listeners.
Oh, yes. I was when I heard about it, immediately after, I was Zach needs to cover this because it is wild. I could not believe it was real, and then I looked it up and I was no freaking way.
Yeah, it's almost something that you think that you would hear, and it's a rumor. Because you're that
I was that doesn't happen.
That can't be real, that doesn't happen. Who would use that?
Yeah, why would people get away with this? But it's, I think you, jump in, Zach.
Yeah. So, for those of you who may or may not know what the gay trans panic defense, this article comes from the American Bar Association. So, this is derived right directly from their page, so I'm just going to be reading what they defined it as. So, the defense is defined by the LGBT bar as a legal strategy which asks the jury to find that a victim's sexual orientation or gender identity is to blame for the defendant's violent reaction, including murder. Justifiable murder? What? No. Okay.
So a victim's sexual orientation or gender identity is to blame for a defendant's violent actions, including murder. Oh God, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, literally for who someone is as a person, it justifies murder and violence.
Disgusting.
Gross. So basically, this legally sanctioned discrimination against one's sexual orientation and gender identity must cease. In the United States, the LGBTQ plus community makes up at least 3.5% of the total population, yet is vastly overrepresented in hate crime statistics. Don't know why. In 2007, sexual orientation ranked as the third highest motivator for hate crime incidents at 17% of total attacks, behind race, 51%, and religion, 18%. Over the course of lesbian, gay, or bisexual people's lifetimes, 1 in 5 will experience hate crimes, and 1 in 4 transgender people will as well. Those individuals at the intersection of homophobia, transphobia, racism face worse statistics. Between 2013 and 2017, of the 102 known transgender people killed in hate crimes in the United States, 75 were Black or African American, which, I mean, I find that almost every story that we, at least like true crime story and like even in our Irks and Perks, we always come across hate crimes towards Black people or, or the African American community.
All the time. And it's devastating. It's devastating
that it's a thing, and it really shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, we already know this, so.
Yeah,
Although these numbers are already highly representative of the LGBTQ plus community compared to the U.S. population, they could be higher. Often crimes against the LGBTQ plus community are not recorded as hate crimes by all official sources. Fears of retaliation, discrimination, harassment, or being outed to friends and family of 5 are also concerns that may inhibit the LGBTQ plus victims from reporting crimes against them, which I totally understand why someone would not want to open up about something that's happened to them, because it's like they still may be in the closet and it may just not be a safe space for them to come out yet.
Absolutely.
So it's like they just have to endure this type of violence and these types of crimes.
And I think too,
awful.
I think too, like, it's important to point out the fact that if like a hate crime has occurred to them, you know, they already don't feel safe.
Exactly.
You know, you're already in a vulnerable position, and it's like now you get to be outed. Also, it's like you don't even know if people will take you seriously. A lot of the times people don't take them seriously, which is I think it's even higher than this by far, because a lot of transgender women, when they're murdered or like attacked, they don't get the media they don't say that it was a transgender woman. They'll say like they'll call them, you know, a male, and they won't even mention the fact that they were a transgender woman and that they possibly were, that it was possibly a hate crime.
Exactly.
You know, they don't even mention that a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So yeah, even like, because we talk a lot about with each other about transgender, especially like crimes and such, like whenever we hear about them. And a lot of the time, like, I don't know if you've noticed, like when we read the articles, they'll still like mention, like they'll call them a male. And
exactly, yeah.
Use the wrong pronouns, and it's just awful. And sometimes they'll blatantly use the wrong name.
Yeah, and I think that that's just fucking awful, because it's like, how are we supposed to get justice and how are we supposed to make awareness around this when we can't even properly identify the person? You know, it's like,
yeah,
it just makes it seem like
so wrong. So I even think, personally, I do think it's way higher than this. Also, 3.5% of the population being LGBTQIA seems super low to me. I think it could be a lot higher, but I mean, people don't come out because it's not safe in a lot of places. So, I don't know, that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and like referring back to what you said, is it's like sometimes people don't believe that these crimes actually happen to the victim. A lot of people want to go out and they want to victim blame.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like,
absolutely.
Oh, well, what were you wearing? Like, how
were
you acting like too much like yourself? Like, you know, like these different types of things, like they'll victim blame and they'll try to make it justifiable why they were a victim of a certain hate crime.
Well, this whole fucking defense is a victim blame.
Oh, yeah.
This whole thing is a victim blame. If you look, like, the legal strategy, which asks a jury to find the victim's sexual orientation and gender, the victim, to blame. Like, that's... No.
That right there says it within itself.
That's literally the first sentence of this, article. So, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, it must be noted that the gay/trans panic is not an affirmative legal defense. It is a tactic to strengthen the defense by playing on prejudice. It has, however, been used to not only explain a defendant's actions, but excuse them as well. Typically, the defense has 3 variations: defense of insanity or diminished capacity, defense of provocation, and defense of self-defense. The insanity or diminished capacity defense argues that the victim's sexual orientation or gender identity is to blame for the defendant's breakdown into a panic. The provocation defense argues that the victim's proposition of a non-violent sexual advance could be sufficiently provocative to induce a defendant to kill them. The final variation of self-defense claims that because of the victim's sexual orientation or gender identity, the victim must have been about to cause the defendant serious bodily harm. Despite debunking gay panic defense and its removal from the DSM by the American Psychological Association in 1973, legal defense teams continue to use it.
I think it's wild that it was ever in the DSM.
To begin with, but it's like, also, it's like, I understand that it is a lawyer's job to defend their client, but the fact that they want to stoop so low and use something so... it's just, what the fuck?
I mean, you're literally victim blaming in court, in open court. And that's just wild. It's so wild.
So, this kind of like wanted to broaden my horizon, if you will, and really kind of make me question like why people may be homophobic or transphobic. Mm-hmm. So I was able to... I
love that. No, you're seeing the situation from both ends, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to do.
So I just really wanted to explore that. So I was able to find 2 articles that I kind of combined together. One of them was from livescience.com, and it was written by Stephanie Pappas. And article 2 was from changingattitude.org from the UK. And basically, homophobic attitudes may say a lot about the person who holds them. New research suggests. A new study of university students in Italy revealed that people who have strongly negative views of gay people also have higher levels of psychoticism and inappropriate coping mechanisms than those who are accepting of homosexuality. This doesn't mean that homophobic people are psychotic. Rather, psychoticism is a personality trait marked by hostility, anger, and aggression towards others. But the studies does suggest that people who cling to homophobic views have some psychological issues, said lead researcher Emanuele Giannini. Earlier research has found homophobia to be a complex subject, with some studies suggesting that people with visceral negative reactions to the LGBTQ community harbor same-sex desires themselves. Other studies, though, contest that idea and suggest that homophobic people are truly averse to same-sex attraction. Other factors such as religiosity, sensitivity to disgust, hypermasculinity, and misogyny seem to play a role in anti-gay beliefs. Which, I mean, it's honestly not a surprise for me. Like, it makes sense that it is a form of psychoticism. Like, that makes sense to me.
I think it does speak more about the person being homophobic than the homo themselves.
Exactly.
For sure. Like, if you're gay, like, and somebody hates you, like, just for the way that you are, that kind of... Like, who hurt you?
Exactly.
Who hurt you, honey?
Exactly. So in a new study, the researchers asked 551 Italian students, ranging in ages from 18 to 30, to fill out their questionnaires on levels of homophobia as well as their psychopathology, including levels of depression, anxiety, and psychoticism. The homophobia scale required participants to rate how strongly they agreed or disagreed on a 5-point scale with 25 statements, such as, gay people make me nervous. I think homosexual people should not work with children. I tease and make jokes about gay people. And it does not matter to me whether my friends are gay or straight. Overall, the better the mental health of the person based on the responses in the questionnaire, the less likely he or she was to be homophobic, the researchers found. People with fearful avoidant attachment styles who tend to feel uncomfortable in close relationships with others were significantly more homophobic than those who were secure with close relationships. The researchers also found that people with higher levels of immature defense mechanisms were more homophobic than those with mature defense mechanisms. High levels of hostility and anger measured as psychoticism were also linked to homophobia, the researchers found. But other mental health issues had the opposite association. Depression and neurotic defense mechanisms like hypochondria or repression were both linked to lower levels of homophobia. The findings position homophobia as a trait more often seen in dysfunctional personalities, but personality is